Greetings, Neuse Little Pod listeners. This is your host, Matt Gore, reminding you to please like, follow, subscribe, and share the podcast on your available podcast apps such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and any other podcast app you can think of. Share our episodes on Facebook and let us know what you think with a comment or review. Now, please enjoy the show. Good evening and welcome to Neuse Little Podcast. This is an audio program talking about the backstage antics and stories of running a small-town community theater on the banks of the Neuse River located in Smithfield, North Carolina. We lovingly refer to the old girl as the Hut. We hope you enjoy.
They went, oh, it's poggers. And I'm like,
What?
what was that? And they go, poggers. And I'm like, does that mean like cool or epic? And they go, epic, boomer. And I'm like, no.
So poggers means cool?
Yeah.
Cool
I
or
guess.
epic, yeah, or awesome.
You're making that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe the nephews are.
We have Google in our hands.
All right. All right, we are rolling, people. So thank
Okay.
you for tuning in to Neuse Little Podcast. We have a different sort of episode for you. January is always a weird month in theater because there's very few shows opening, but everybody's usually working on one. So until we get to February and we get into our Outsiders content, we are going to have 2 shows for you in January that are a little bit off the beaten path. And this evening with me, I have guests. 2 out of 3 of them have Neuse Little Theater ties, and one of them just is for along for the ride. This episode will kind of be like a top 3 movies of the year. We all love movies here on the podcast, and I got movie buffs, and I'm going to introduce them right now. We got Keith Davis, who has been in 4 shows here at Neuse Little Theater. And recently he was the Irishman in the Explorers Club. And then we got my brother, Justin Gore-Pike. He's been in 2 previous shows here a while ago at Neuse Little Theater. He's probably going to talk a lot about Spider-Man. And then we have...
He's not wrong.
What's wrong with talking about Spider-Man?
I'm glad we have Larry here. Larry is my man in the foxhole when it comes to Spider-Man.
Don't mention Foxhole again.
And for his second appearance on the Neuse Little Pod, we have Larry Carlisle from the Gilbert. And we're recording an episode with him later today, and we thought it'd be weird and awkward just to have him sit while we talked about movies, because he loves movies too.
He does love to watch, too.
Right. Oh, good. You're awkward right out of the gate. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm glad.
I had to
Thanks for
test
that.
the waters.
You know what I had to do to get you on this podcast? And I'm just kidding. All right, gentlemen. I'm going to try to steer this as best I can because if we're going to keep this under an hour, we got to go ahead and pump through it.
Yeah.
All right. So we got our top 3 movies of the year, and honestly, they don't have to be in any particular order.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit more interesting and a little less stringent on the structure there. So, Keith Davis, tell us in no particular order one of your favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, one of the movies I really want to touch home on was Nightmare Alley, directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
It was an adaptation of a previous film of the same title, made decades ago.
Yeah, starring Tyrone Power. I recently watched that as 1947. It's basically a remake of that movie.
Yeah, except it's apparently a lot better. From the details that you were telling me about it, we saw it on the theaters before a different movie. But I really enjoyed Nightmare Alley. It's basically like if Del Toro kind of went about a Barry Lyndon style, sort of screenplay, like seeing the rise and fall of a man, pretty much,
The Rise and Fall of a Scoundrel.
Yes.
Yes. That's a good, excellent point with the Barry Lyndon right out of the gate. Keith Davis, I like it. Stanley Kubrick. I'll talk about Stanley Kubrick anytime. I did like Nightmare Alley. It didn't make my top 5 this year, but.
Well, that's interesting.
No, there was an interesting review I read about Nightmare Alley that said that everything was art directed to death. That it looked like whenever Cate Blanchett and Bradley Cooper were on screen together, like it looked like a speakeasy that you go to now,
Yeah.
where the drinks are really overpriced and everybody's dressed up like it's Great Gatsby.
Kind of like a modern Tim Burton movie.
Yeah,
It's
but just so meticulously art directed.
Yeah.
Like this is the have and to have not room.
Right.
It's like it could have been a little bit more gritty for a movie that's very dirty. This is a little bit too polished for me.
Yeah, the ending there, it's very cathartic for sure,
Yes, the 1947 version at the last 30 seconds. The 98% of the movie is like, oh, this is actually very this is very hardcore emotional for this time. And in the last 30 seconds, they do a Hollywood ending. They don't do that this time, which I thought was a big improvement. We also saw that we had a private screening of Nightmare
Pretty
Alley.
much, yeah. It was just
We were the only ones in the theater. Every single other person in the theater was watching Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was me with the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
When it came out, it was just me and the wife.
No,
What?
I haven't seen Nightmare Alley yet.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah,
definitely worth a watch.
I recommend it.
All the circus stuff is great.
Yeah.
I'll watch anything Guillermo del Toro, though.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Justin, give
pretty
me one of your favorite movies this
It
year.
was hard to pick between Green Knight and Dune for my third. but
I
went
said one.
but I went with Green Knight.
Okay.
Green-
Interesting.
Green Knight, specifically because when I was looking between those two, Dune and Green Knight, they were hitting for each other. I thought it's kind of hard to fail Dune at this time when it comes to all the technology that we have and all the money we can put into these blockbusters. But it's really easy to fail something as niche as the Green Knight.
Yeah.
The Green Knight felt like you could have made that movie 40 years ago and could have had the same impact and meaning. And I thought that was really impressive that they managed to pull that off in this year. I also just, A Knight's Quest is it's a very tried and true story, and they did it very well, and it leads up to a conclusion that I think was done perfectly. I've heard from some people saying it was disappointing, and I wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, directed by David Lowery.
Yes.
Very good director.
Adapted from, I didn't write it down, adapted from it was a poem, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sir Gawain, you know.
Sir Gawain. Yeah, Sir
Sir
Gawain.
Gawain.
Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
Yes.
Yes. That poem, it was almost lost to time. It was almost lost to time. It was saved at the last minute from a burning library in the 1300s, I want to say. But I could have my centuries wrong on that. Larry, give us one of your favorite movies of 2021.
It doesn't have to be in any particular order, though.
No, just give me one you really liked that came out in 2021.
I mean, since he didn't start off with it.
I'm going to end with it.
Save that one for the end.
I'm
get
going
to-
to end with it.
Yeah.
He's
Me,
gonna
me and
end
you
with
can tag team
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
I have to save it for the end, too, then?
Yeah.
Because we got. I actually will say because we might spoil it, and that'll be near the end where they can just click away.
Correct.
Trust me, nobody's listening to this with bated breath, my friend.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, Jesus, they ruined it.
Yep. On.
I haven't seen in the theater. I haven't seen, I think maybe but 2 movies in the entire year of 2021 because of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So I've watched a lot of stuff on the streaming sites, and I watched a movie on Netflix called Blood Red Sky
Interesting. I do not know what this movie's about.
that I liked a lot. Imagine. Passenger 57 mixed with Let the Right One In.
Okay.
So, a vampire on a plane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a female vampire. She gets turned completely randomly, like on accident, sort of, and she has a child, and so she spends most of her time with the child, trying to control, her lust for blood. And she finds out that there might be a cure, and so she gets on a plane with her little son, who's now like 8, and they're going to wherever. And it's attacked by terrorists. And so
it's like Die Hard with a vampire on a plane.
Yeah, it's
So-
Passenger 57 with vampires.
So they become heroes. So John McClane is fighting the terrorists, only he's a vampire.
Oh, no, it's a woman.
Oh, yeah.
It's her.
Oh,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the
So
standard
Ripley.
character.
It's
So
a-
Ripley with fangs.
And no, not really, not even. Like, that's the thing. Like, it was so, I liked it because it was quick. So it got to the point. Like, there wasn't a lot of extraneous kind of like, oh, we're making a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I know that's the kind of stuff that you guys like. but sometimes,
Wait for my next one on the list.
here's where Matt turns my mic off and is like, get him out.
It's gonna happen.
But no, it was a fast, dirty little movie that was actually kind of moving because she loved her son, and she wanted to make sure he was safe, and then she had to go whole hog on a plane full of vampires, and it was pretty cool. It was good. I think it was a German film.
Interesting.
I'd watch that.
So that's on Netflix. So what's this name? What's it called again?
Blood Red Sky.
Blood Red Sky. Interesting.
Good title.
Yeah. So, yeah, piggybacking on that, yeah, one of my favorite films of the year is definitely a movie that is like, look at us, we are making a film, and we're gonna.
Can I guess? I'm gonna say let's say it at the same time. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Mank.
No, Mank came out last year.
Oh, did it? Oh,
Yeah.
It would have been the choice.
No, that was my favorite movie last year. I'm a huge Mank fan, even though I admit it's not David Fincher's best film. Anyways, I was gonna say Licorice Pizza.
That's a good one.
Because this is a movie by Paul Thomas Anderson that really takes its time and really it reminds me. It's Rushmore and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood mixed together.
Yeah, it's very meandering, but
It
it's
is.
still,
It is. So, deliberately paced. I have
Yes,
two
yes, that's
deliberate movies described as deliberately paced on my top 5 this year.
Alana that is terrifying to me. Like she would scare me if I was his age.
Yeah, that's in Licorice Pizza. It's about two young people in Southern California falling in love and having little adventures. And those adventures usually they're in like a waterbed business, and they deliver a waterbed to Barbara Streisand's mansion, where Barbara Streisand's not there, but her crazy ass boyfriend John Peters is there,
God, it's such a great scene.
played by Bradley Cooper. He's only in 15 minutes of the movie, but this stuff with Bradley Cooper is electrifying.
Just knowing the context of John Peters really added a level to it, and I really enjoyed the experience at the Alamo as well. Like there was a licorice pizza that they actually sold, to go along with it.
Did not have licorice on it.
No, it just has a lot of sausage and peppers and cheese. It's
It was
fine.
a missed opportunity to really do some weird shit.
Because I told Keith before, I was like, they're not going to have themed food for Licorice Pizza. It's not a very big movie. Like, I can see them having some Spider-Man themed food. That makes perfect sense.
And they did.
And they did have a Licorice Pizza. But the Licorice Pizza, I can just see like, well, what are we going to do for the licorice? They're back in the kitchen in the Alamo, right? Like, what are we going to do for the Licorice Pizza? I don't know, put a shit ton of sausage on it. There we go.
Done. You're like, and that's why you're the head chef. That's right.
And from what it looked like, it looked delicious.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I
All
loved
right.
it. And of course they had an Alatini, like a martini.
Yeah, Alana Tina.
Yes.
Yeah,
That movie is Licorice Pizza. It's a great little coming of age movie. All right, Keith, give me another one from your list.
I'm gonna talk about Pig. It's a very
Okay.
surprising,
So mad I haven't seen this yet.
surprisingly non-violent film. Like based on the marketing of Pig, it just looks like Nicolas Cage is out in the woods pretty much with this truffle pig, and the truffle pig is gathering truffles. And
It'd be weird if they were gathering something else.
right, exactly. Yeah.
He's an ex-chef of some sort, right?
Yes,
He's a skilled chef.
Yeah, he was a skill chef. You find out more about him as the film goes on, of course. But the pig gets kidnapped, and he's trying to find the pig. And I'm thinking, I was like, okay, this very John Wick inspired, sort of premise. And I was like, it's gonna be super violent. He's gonna mess up some people to find the pig. It's like, no, it's like there's literally only one conflict in the film, and he gets beaten up himself. It's like,
I've heard it's Nicolas Cage returned to form in terms of his Academy Award-winning performance.
Yeah, he should definitely get a nomination for sure.
back
It's
when
very,
back when he acted.
Yeah.
Is he on the phone going, I knew you took her?
Yeah, no, the way
That's
the
the movie I
market,
would've made.
Mita, no, the way the marketing for this
was.
movie is, it looks like Liam Neeson.
Yeah, it
Liam
does.
Neeson's Taken, only it's a pig.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage is gonna screw everybody up, and
Yeah.
that's not what this is.
No, not at all. Which is
It's-
even better that way, honestly.
It was
Yeah.
it was the fifth. Like if you look at I forget I think it was Forbes, their top 10 movies of 2021. It was number 5.
Yeah.
Yes, it was on several top 10 lists, and I was just like, really, this
Yeah.
interesting.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Cage
Yeah.
If you would like
Cage
to
can
watch it.
act when he wants to.
He can.
But I love that he's rubber banding. He's like, all right, I did Pig. Now let me do the movie where I play myself
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
he
just
is
do
gonna do that.
crazy things.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
gonna do that at some point.
Give me,
Oh, I saw the trailer for it.
It looks great.
It looks pretty funny.
Yeah.
Justin, give me another one from your list.
I'm gonna bring the room down a little bit, but this movie I thought it was absolutely amazing. The Father with Anthony Hopkins.
Okay, all right. Now, this is interesting because I talked to Larry about the Father. We had a conversation about the Father last night.
Yep.
Yeah,
So tell us what a little bit.
It is about someone going through Alzheimer's and dementia through their perspective. It's at times very jarring because they recast people that are playing the same role. That way they're unrecognizable even to you, the audience. And I cannot get through the movie without crying, which I don't cry that often. And that movie will rip your heart out about 2 or 3 different times. And this also, because Anthony Hopkins won the Oscar for it, and it was a huge controversy because everybody wanted Chadwick Boseman to win. And I remember thinking, I also want that. And then when I saw The Father, I thought, no, that was absolutely well deserved. Anthony Hopkins. I won't say too much. I do want everyone to see this if you can. There's a scene near the end that Anthony Hopkins, at his age, how old is he?
80s.
80s.
Yeah.
There's a scene near the end that it's amazing he can pull that off the way he pulled it off.
Right.
It'll bring you in, and it'll bring you down to your knees emotionally. It's an amazing movie.
Yeah, it starts out like your basic, like, oh, there's an old man and he's getting on in years, and the daughter, she has a new boyfriend and kind of wants to go live her life. And I was like, oh, okay, I've seen this movie before. Then it turns on a dime about 20 minutes into the movie where you start seeing things from his perspective. Very good movie, The Father. Okay. All right, Larry, give us another one that you've seen this year that doesn't have Tom Holland in it.
There is a movie called Psycho Gore-Man.
I've heard about that. I want to see that so bad. Tell me about it.
Psycho Gore-Man.
Tell me about it.
It is about a family living, I don't know, somewhere in Ohio, and the brother and the sister are always doing things together. And the sister is, like, that's the only thing about the movie that I didn't really like, is the sister is awful. But anyway, but her and the brother, they're together all the time, and they find buried somewhere, I think in the backyard, like an ancient something.
According to IMDb, it's an ancient alien overlord.
Yeah, and they wake him up.
That's a big MacGuffin.
And basically, the whole point of it is that whoever holds that stone that he was trapped in can control him. So he is a murderous intergalactic despot being controlled by like an 8-year-old girl.
Does he grant wishes?
No. He predicts death. Like, he just tells everyone how he wants to kill them. Like, he just wants to kill people. That's it.
Okay.
Psycho Gorman. Psycho Gorman.
There's just one point where he's sitting on a couch in like their clubhouse, and I think the girl put like a dress on him. And he's like a big crazy monster.
Right.
I mean, it's a guy in a suit.
It's a guy in a suit.
It's a guy in a suit, but it's a well done 2020s suit. So it looks. I mean, he looks good, and a lot of the effects are practical. You can tell it is pretty low budget. Yeah. He does something and turns her neighbor kid into a disgusting brain squid that is all puppet, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I really love practical effects in movies too.
Yeah, and not enough plays. And that's another thing about Blood Red Sky. There were a lot of practical stuff in that too.
Interesting.
Yeah, that always wins me over with anything that's gory. Yeah. Practical wins.
So, yeah. But Psycho Gore-Man, it's actually just it's fun. It's really funny.
Okay.
Because just watching this monster, because of course he comes to kind of like respect the little girl because she's just as much of a psycho as he is.
They learn a little bit about each other along the way.
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right. My next movie here, let's go ahead and talk about this one. This I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's been on the shelf because of COVID for a long time. And this is, let me get this director's name right, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Villeneuve. And that is his masterpiece, Dune. Now, we saw Dune when it came out in theaters, and I'm a recent convert of the books. I got into the books maybe about 2 years ago because I really respect this director. And when I heard he was doing this, I'm like, maybe this is something I should look more into. And I am a big fan of the books. I'm on book 4. Things are weird. They've been weird for a long time. I don't know if I'm going to get through the series. But I do love the first book, and it is an excellent adaptation of the first part of the first book. So
you will hate Chapter House. Dude.
No, I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. There's no plot. When we get to book 4, there's no plot.
No.
It's just it's Frank Herbert's philosophies through the guise of the God Emperor Jared Leto. I said Jared Leto. Duke Leto II. And it's just whatever Frank Herbert believes about science and philosophy regurgitated through him with very little plot in between. So if the movies or TV shows ever reach that, they're going to have to make up their own thing.
Do not edit out God Emperor Jared Leto.
You
Yeah,
think
no, you got to leave that in.
there's like a 0.01% chance that might happen, you know?
He has his own island. He didn't know about COVID till this year.
Wow.
That's legitimately true. If
Some
he
call
is
him a
not
cult
lying.
leader.
He is a cult leader. He calls himself that. I really did enjoy Dune. I have nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic adaptation. I thought you better not screw it up. It's kind of at this point in our technology and world we can get it right, and they did. I think the next one's going to be way better though, because the next one's the meat.
Well, yeah, then there's a conclusion to
Yeah.
it too. Like that's the thing that was really missing.
But this
for
one did
me
the work.
personally.
This
But
one put the work
was-
in. It built the world. It
Yeah.
showed me what a thropter was. I didn't imagine.
Basically a helicopter with bugs' wings.
Is a little dragonfly.
Yeah, Little Dragon. Yeah.
I think it's one of the Denny. I'm going to just say his first name because I'm going to screw up his last name. But he really knows how to film action on an epic scale. It
Yes.
looked
Yeah.
big. It felt huge. It felt like a big world.
It felt like when Peter Jackson made Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
That's what it felt like to me.
It felt like it felt very cavernous and big, and lots of history and lore.
And it will be the new Lord of the Rings in terms of that being in the zeitgeist.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, if they don't,
Right.
because he said he wants to conclude
They'll definitely do the second one.
Paul
yeah.
Atreides' story. He wants
Yeah.
to do the first two, which are Paul.
Interesting.
Now, I will say, we watched this in the Alamo as well, and Alamo is known for having perfect sound, and they do.
Yes.
Whenever
Yeah.
you watch a movie there, you can always tell, like, ooh, the sound's just, like, really sharp.
Yeah.
And in the Alamo, with the perfect sound of the Alamo, I had issues hearing the dialogue.
Yes.
And I'm just like, okay, like, I'm watching this under optimal conditions, and I still can't understand what they're saying with it, and that's why...
That is because Hans Zimmer, when he made, and this is not me being a joke, this is true. That's when Hans Zimmer made Snyder Cut. He decided that he loves choir in his music. And when he made Dune, there is a choir going in there, and there's a big scene where they're talking, and all I heard were this 40 or 50 women just hitting this high note for about 20 seconds. And I looked over at Matthew, and I was imitating it. That's all I could hear. That also is in the Snyder Cut. Whenever Wonder Woman's on screen, you're going to hear a gigantic choir of women singing. And I think he fell in love with that.
He did say Hans Zimmer, he's been waiting to score Dune ever since he became a professional composer. So,
And that wasn't a slight. The music of the movie is amazing.
No,
Yes.
it is. Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of Baron Harkonnen. Anything with Harkonnen,
That was my one complaint with the movie. I wanted him to be a little bit more monstrous.
by monstrous he means heavy.
Yeah, I want him to be. He's described as being so fat that you believe he needs those anti-grav repulsors.
Right.
And he is fat, but I feel like he could walk.
This guy can still walk.
I feel like he could
Oh,
walk.
yeah.
I feel like you don't need those
Have
repulsors.
you guys ever seen the David Lynch one?
Oh,
No.
it's awful. You haven't seen that?
I haven't sullied
It's-
the Dune, my view of Dune with.
It's a trip.
It isn't that the guy on the suspenders and he's going, and he's just like spinning around.
Oh, you think that's what? Have you ever seen Kyle MacLachlan not be able to act?
It did start their collaborations together, so I guess it's worth that.
Worth it. We
Because
got
I saw Dune, the new one. I watched it.
Uh-huh.
I prefer David Lynch's version.
Why?
Interesting.
Why
Because-
before I flip over this table?
Probably 'cause it's weird, right?
David Lynch's version has personality and is weird and gross and ridiculous and some more practical effects. And while I liked the new Dune, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, which is big Oscar-winning sci-fi movie. And so in that aspect, it was kind of boring because I've seen big action scenes. I've seen them for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
starting with the Lord of the Rings movies, and then
that's
going
fair.
through all of the Marvel movies and
Right.
all of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and then 6 Hobbit movies. I've never watched any of the Harry Potter movies, but I know that's exactly what they all are.
Right.
And if I don't know, like was it pretty? Yes, it was beautiful. okay, what else do you got?
There was a lot of sand.
Like,
It does take place on a desert planet.
like tell me a knock-knock joke, like that kind of thing, you know?
To be
like,
fair, you're
like-
not wrong, but
like
but that's the
beauty,
book too.
beauty, and like the ability to compose a shot, while important, yes, they are. But I mean, just to me, I was like, everybody just looks kind of like a model, one that then they just threw dirt on because it's on a
Sand.
planet full of sand.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and yeah, the shots are beautiful. It's framed very nice. The explosions, the fights, all that kind of stuff. What else you got? Like, really?
Zendaya did have blue eyes,
Yeah, yeah.
and that
thank
was
you.
awesome.
Yeah, but,
She-
I mean, she could have no eyes and she'd still be awesome.
She, that is oddly enough, having no eyes is a future plot thread in the Dune novels.
That's weird.
It is.
So, I mean, that's just me. You know.
You're not wrong. The original Dune has personality. It's just a personality I hate.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
kinda,
like
It's kind of
the
like that uncle that comes to Thanksgiving. Oh,
But
he's
the-
a big character, but
the
I
thing-
hate him.
The thing is that like
He's gross.
when I watched the new one, I was like, yeah, I know this scene. It's in the David Lynch one. It's
You're-
better in the David Lynch
There's
one.
no way.
Not Baron Harkonnen.
Baron Harkonnen is not better in the David
He's
Lynch
not better than the David
Yes,
Lynch.
he is.
than the. Oh, come on now.
Yes, he is.
Look, Baron Harkonnen in the original David Lynch is one step away from Jabba the Hutt. They went too far.
That's the thing, though, is that like they didn't because Jabba the Hutt didn't exist yet when David Lynch's Dune came out.
That's fair.
So technically, Jabba the Hutt was
Wait,
ripping
wait.
off Harkonnen, and the one
That's fair.
it's an actor, and he is already a rather large man. He's not grossly fat, but they did practical effects on him, and they did makeup effects on him to give him boils and
Yeah,
like
he's-
blisters
yeah.
that pulsate, and he's really gross. He's disgusting.
Yeah.
I hate to burst your bubble. But Return of the Jedi featuring Jabba the Hutt was released in 1983, and Dune, David Lynch's Dune, was 19.
It's 84. Ah, damn!
1984.
I thought Dune was 80, and
But
Return of the Jedi was
More than likely,
83.
those two movies were being worked on at the same time.
Right,
Because
probably
David
true.
Lynch was actually offered the chance to direct Return of the
Jedi,
Jedi.
which would have been
really. Yes, he
which
Which
he-
I would love.
He
That would
spoke
be amazing.
One thing about that I found on a David Lynch Reddit post of all things when they were talking about him. He said, "If I had made Return of the Jedi, you would have seen the Ewoks eat the stormtroopers."
Man, that's what I want.
Yeah, man.
And I'm
They are
like,
dancing on their graves at
Yeah,
the
And
end.
I'm like,
that's fair enough. That's
Like,
Like
do
when
you-
they're hitting the helmets, there's heads in those
there's heads
helmets.
in those helmets.
Did you think that was just like a coincidence, the way that Han and everybody are
No,
tied
no,
up
I know,
on the
but, like,
things?
you know-
they're about to cook
I
them
know.
Yeah.
on a spit.
but that's like
They're
that's
gonna
that's
burn 'em
implied.
They're gonna burn them alive, Silent Hill style. And it's
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
But that's implied. You don't see it in action.
They really
you
need
know.
to have a Wicker Man. They can put him in there. Not the bees! The bees!
But he also said, and this is my favorite part of it. He said, "But they still would have been cute."
No,
course.
they would have been more
That would've
horrifying.
been
Yeah,
worse.
that'd be even better.
That would have been more, yeah.
With blood red teeth. Like,
Yeah.
all right, I could literally talk about David Lynch the rest of the
That's fair.
podcast, but Keith, give us your final movie.
My favorite movie of the whole year, personally, you can say whether or not it's as good as another one. This one, it appealed to me more so, on a personality level, and the Suicide Squad.
Wait, hold on. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
are you putting that above the other two you said?
He said
Well,
his
yeah.
favorite movie of the year,
I
Justin.
know, I know. I need to.
favorite movie
It's
of
the Suicide
year
Squad.
is the Suicide
That's
Squad.
not a bad choice. That's just an odd choice
No, I
given your
know.
other two choices.
Right.
That's a great movie.
That's
Absolutely. It's beautifully shot. It's funny. I'm invested all the time. The soundtrack, I melt with the soundtrack all the time. Like I still listen to the soundtrack off and on.
John
on my
Cena
days
is
off.
not as funny as that movie wants to make me think he is.
Yeah.
And that's my one complaint is that why is he the one getting a solo show out of it? But that's not in the movie, so it's not a valid complaint.
Yeah, and it's just mostly just because of the character itself,
Yeah.
obviously. But I mean, I just love the screenplay. You can definitely see all the realistic aspects of the plan itself.
Polka Dot Man being in a live action movie I never thought would happen, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Harlequin being inside of Starro's eyeball was one of the most
Yes,
amazing.
just anything with the
Just Starro
eyeball,
in general.
the Starro,
Like-
that was all very. It was all very pretty.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't a terrible movie.
No, not at all.
Right.
It washed the taste of the other Suicide Squad out of my mouth.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Did you ever see that one, Larry?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you think? Now it's time for the part where Larry craps on it.
Larry craps on everything that we love.
I love Idris Elba. I think he's awesome.
He is in that movie. I forgot.
He's so good in that movie too.
Okay, that right there, that's not a good sign for your movie. I'm just saying.
Well, it's an ensemble
Okay.
cast too. You have to,
True. Well, yeah. John Cena is, for some reason, I think he's likable. Like he's legitimately funny when I've seen him in comedies, and he was legitimately funny a couple times in the Suicide Squad.
And they showed those times in the trailer,
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
and that was it.
But my problem with the movie is that it was wholly unnecessary. There is absolutely zero reason for that movie to exist.
Welcome to 70% of movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is I have because I mean, you all know I'm a comic book guy. I don't read them as much regularly anymore because shit's expensive. But like the Suicide Squad, from the comics, I would say the best runs to read would probably be like the John Ostrander ones from the 70s. But their whole thing was like they're not sent to kill Superman because that's stupid. Because they couldn't do it. How's a guy with a boomerang and a crazy lady with a hammer gonna beat Superman? They can't. They were sent to like small countries in the DC universe, on DC Earth, to kill people and do like Black Ops type stuff.
Yeah.
So, and this is an argument I have with another movie as well, but that's something different. And so, my thinking is, you have all of this potential. You can make me an R-rated Suicide Squad movie that reads like a cross between like John Wick and like it can be violent and gritty and dark and weird, and explodey and bloody and funny because when everybody likes funny. And so you have all of this potential and all of this money and all of these people that you can do that, and you decide to basically try and make the same movie again, only kind of different, but not really. And we don't like it when you compare us to Marvel Studios. Who should we hire to do this movie? Let's hire the guy that did this exact same thing for Marvel 8 years ago. Well, okay, the public is, a little, so they don't remember things. But, I mean, like, I watched it and I was just like, okay. Starro? I don't care.
Real quick about Starro, my one counterpoint to this whole thing.
I mean, that part with Starro was pretty cool where they showed, like, the old footage.
Well,
I did not think this podcast would have a whole lot of Starro content.
my
No one ever does.
my
He's the
counterpoint.
conqueror.
You should listen to my Starro only podcast. It's called A Starro is Born.
There's just so much content about Starro.
My counterpoint about it is actually focused on Starro. Starro was the first ever villain that the Justice League fought in the comics together as a group.
Right.
And I loved that this was James Gunn's way of saying, I can do a Justice League movie better than what you've done twice.
Why do they got to be in competition with themselves?
Because James Gunn wanted to make Justice League.
Yeah, but he didn't. He made
No,
another,
he
he made another Suicide Squad
He did.
that only sucks slightly less
Yeah.
than the original sucky Suicide Squad.
I wouldn't even say
When you said it washed the taste out, and I was like, that's like drinking a shit milkshake and then chasing it with another flavored shit milkshake.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it anywhere near that bad.
And that's the thing, I don't hate it, but
yeah.
its existence is totally
I
unnecessary.
do agree it's unnecessary, but I like its personality. I like it. I love its soundtrack.
That's the thing. It does. It has personality. I will give it that. And that's the thing I said about the David Lynch one.
So you're sitting. So if you're an executive sitting in Warner Brothers office and talking about the new Suicide Squad movie, and you're seriously there like, okay, but what are we trying to say with this movie?
Well, no, you don't have to say.
And I'm sure James Gunn would have an argument. Well, this is what the movie says. Yeah.
Yes.
And, I mean, no, I'm not saying. You mean like because the one that I'm talking about would need to say something?
I'm talking about maybe people just. Not every single movie has to have an overall message and meaning, and maybe they just thought it would make
Yeah,
And you can
no,
even
and that's fine.
Oh no, it was definitely made because DC was like, we need a winner.
Yeah.
We need to win one because we've lost the last.
And it's
5.
hard for me to enjoy the movies that are so
Connected to garbage.
flagrantly marketed
Right.
that way.
Yes.
All right.
And whereas it's
it's being pushed through this,
it's a studio.
production
line.
The studio is trying to make money.
Like Margot Robbie's not coming back as Harley Quinn for a long time.
And I'm one of the people that thought Birds of Prey sucked.
I hated Birds of
Garbage.
Prey.
I still haven't
It's the
watched
same
it.
thing as Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
just with the ladies.
Yeah, it's garbage.
I've yet to watch it.
It's real stupid.
All right. We could talk about this all day, but if we are going to get to
All right.
Yeah.
the boy in the red and blue underwear, we got to go ahead and move on.
That's it.
All right, yeah.
Larry,
Red and blue pajamas, excuse me.
Larry, do you want to take it first on our favorite movie of the year?
Oh, well, why don't we let them go?
Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah, we'll save you guys for last. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My favorite movie of the year was The Last Duel, directed
Yeah?
by Ridley
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this film. It is brutal. It is possibly you should look into it and see if there's a possible trigger warning because it is one of the most brutal movies I've seen in a while. Now Ridley Scott, he's a cranky old man director now. He he hasn't had as many hits as he used to have back. He's director of Alien, Blade Runner, iconic sci-fi films, Gladiator. One of the greatest sword and sandal movies ever made.
And he's making a second one.
So I like The Last Duel because of its screenplay structure. It's like the Japanese film Rashomon, a story from multiple sides through multiple tellings of that story. Some found it tedious. I found it very interesting because there's very subtle differences in each telling of the story about what happened. It's about this knight who marries this woman. He goes off to fight a war, and when he's gone, his perceived best friend comes and has his way with his wife against her will.
Oh, yikes.
Back in the day, if a woman came forward, she's not only putting her accuser at risk, she's putting herself at risk. Because if she's found to be lying, she could literally be burned at the stake. And so she's doing this huge risk, but she's adamant, saying like, "No, this is what happened, and I demand justice." And so they have in France one of the last ever one-on-one duels, and they're going to let God decide who's guilty.
The wife is played by Jodie Comer, by the way, and she's
Yes.
amazing.
I had not seen any of her work before this film, and she was an excellent actress.
What year? What year does it take place?
Oh, 1300s France.
Okay, so it's really that was the last duel that they had.
Yeah, they had one more after this one. Technically, by history,
with guns.
with guns.
Right.
But this is the last sword
This is the
duel.
last sword. Oh,
And
that's-
man, they beat shit out of each other.
Oh, yeah.
This is some of the best action that Ridley Scott has shot since Gladiator. And I thought there was true, real drama at the end of the film because I did not know who was going to win. Guess what? I saw Spider-Man. I was pretty sure Spider-Man was going to win. But I did not know. I did not know who was going to come out on this. And that was
Actually, the audience won. More
yeah.
than
We'll
Spider-Man
get
did.
there. We'll get there.
Don't put digs in.
We'll get there. But
It's
anyway,
all right. Calm down, Justin.
I'm not digging.
check
on
out The Last Duel with Matt Damon and Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Ben Affleck. There's some period accurate and very unfortunate hair in this film. There's some not great haircuts. Matt Damon's got kind of a half mullet thing going on.
awful.
Yeah, but this is a great, very gritty, very dark performance from Matt Damon. All right, okay,
All right, this is it.
all right. Go ahead and talk about Spider-Man. I'll take a break.
Look, do you want me to go first or you?
I don't know. I mean, cause
Get into it because we're running out of time.
Well, no, because I can say it in 10 minutes, whereas you'll go off for
No, I actually
45.
because I
hours.
knew of the reaction to me having this as my favorite. I have a summary of it that's nice and succinct.
All right.
I can do that.
All right.
Okay.
So far in the podcast, Larry going last has been good. So let's have him. Let's keep up that trend.
The reason No Way Home was my #1 movie of the year is because All right, this is a movie that I hyped up for an entire year because certain
Jesus Christ, he wouldn't shut up about Spider-Man.
Hey now, all right.
certain aspects.
You put some respect on your mouth when you say
Yes.
Spider-Man.
The movie that saved movies.
No, I'm not talking about
the movie that
movie.
showed
I'm talking
everyone
about
that people
Spider-Man.
will go to see a movie during COVID. They just want to care about it first.
Oh.
So
Justin's hot take on that disease.
sorry, Ridley Scott. The haircuts were the reason I didn't put my butt in the seat. Akira Kurosawa knows what I'm talking about. God. Anyways, the reason I would put this movie as my number one is not just because I'm a Spider-Man fanboy. Confession, I'm a huge Spider-Man fanboy. If I'm looking at this outside of that, this is a movie that I hyped up for a year. Almost no movie you hype up for that long will match your expectations. It's almost guaranteed to disappoint you in some aspect. It didn't, which was surprising because I thought this would be the honeymoon phase, so I saw it again. And it didn't disappoint twice, and it didn't disappoint a third time. So, if a movie doesn't disappoint you 3 times, you've been hyping it up for a year, I started looking at it from the way that we like to analyze movies, and the only thing I could complain about with this movie was the music. The music was the one lackluster thing in the entire movie, and it's not even bad. It's just, it only has 2 memorable tracks. Meanwhile, I can name 3 memorable tracks off of 2002 Spider-Man. The acting in the movie was great.
What, that Chad Kroger one?
I actually,
hero
to be
will
fair,
save us.
to be fair, that's his best song. But that's not saying much.
You put some respect on Nickelback.
But no, come on. I mean, because we've hyped up movies before for a long time, and they disappoint.
Right.
And it's happened multiple times. In fact, I'll give you an example that's relevant. Spider-Man 3. When that teaser poster came out when I was a kid, I wouldn't shut up about it forever. And that movie, it was, at the time when I was a kid, it was bad. I look back on it, it's got a lot of good things I didn't notice, but I'm older now. But I hyped that movie up to pieces, and it disappointed me greatly. Yeah. So and I've definitely matured in my taste since then, and the fact that this didn't disappoint was surprising to me. And it has some amazing acting. In fact, I'd say it's one of Willem Dafoe's best performances he's ever given. He's terrifying.
You are crazy. Okay.
Okay. All right. So is he not terrifying in some of the scenes in that movie?
He is a wonderful actor. He will give many more great performances. But
Of course.
he's just really going like Peter Parker and throwing some shit.
Don't edit that out, Mina. That was great. That was a fantastic impression.
It actually was. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that was great. Actually, yeah.
No, but I mean, come on. And also, the biggest reason, this is the last one I'll end on, this movie shouldn't have worked. I'm not going to...
I will 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
It had a hell of a lot going against it, a lot going on, and I agree with you that it
shouldn't
this
have
is
worked.
extremely complicated movie to pull off.
It did, that was my, I actually, this is a real thing for all the listeners. I had a nightmare the night before the reviews went live of this movie. It's how much of a fan I am. I had a nightmare that the movie had a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes because it was, a disaster. That was a real thing. But it sat at a 99%.
Saddest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It sat
People
at
got real problems.
And
I'm not saying it's not a first world problem.
okay,
It is.
everybody, just to give you some context, Justin is married
He has a child.
I am
to a woman who is very attractive.
way out of my league.
And
Way out of my league.
And this is
And by the way, that
is a
woman that
sad-
I'm married to screamed her voice out in the theater for this movie
Well, yeah.
to the point that she could not get loud after that.
Okay.
That's how much she loved it. So
I don't know what kind of crossroads demon deal you made, but
dude, one day it's all gonna come crumbling down, but until then I'm gonna ride it.
Right into the end.
Jessica, if you're listening, I'll be there when that happens.
Jesus. But
Things have took a turn here on this little podcast.
this movie should not have worked. It had everything going against it, a very convoluted plot that was handled simply.
Okay.
I mean, as simple as you can be in the MCU, I watched.
It all hinged on them getting into college.
It did. It did, but to be fair, Logan, one of the best comic book movies ever made, all hinged on a clone
This
of
movie,
Wolverine.
Mita, I know you haven't seen it, but let me tell you, Avengers Endgame was about literally saving half the universe's beings ever. In Spider-Man No Way Home, it's like oh, I got to get to college. That's what it's all about. That's what it all hinges on. I didn't get into MIT. Shit.
Welcome to Spider-Man.
Which is insane that he didn't get into MIT. MIT stands for Massachusetts Institution of Technology. They would have accepted him just for the Stark connection alone. Just for the Stark tech.
To be fair, you're not wrong. In Homecoming, Stark actually says, I have some strings I can pull at MIT to get you in. Now, here's the thing. I actually think they would have accepted him if he had just been patient. But that's what this movie was about, is he had to learn responsibility and patience.
We got to get... Well, all right, Larry, tell us why this is your favorite movie of the year.
I was gonna say, okay, Larry, shit on that.
Yeah.
Because I love Spider-Man. That's it is, because let me tell you, youngin' something. When Spider-Man came out, it was 2002.
Yep.
2002?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 25.
I was 10.
Yeah, exactly.
I was 11.
Yeah, exactly. So while you had a different experience of it, obviously, an 11 or 10-year-old would have a far different experience of it. I was 25. I was going to be getting married, and I had been reading comic books for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I've wanted a Spider-Man movie forever. And I will die on this hill every day for the rest of my life that Spider-Man is the best superhero ever created.
I'll die right there next to you.
And he...
You mean other than Batman, right? I got you.
I actually will now
No.
say he eclipsed Batman for me.
Oh, he's been better than Batman his entire...
I hear
for
you.
his
I
entire
hear you. He's
career.
good. He's good. Just not as good as Batman. I got you.
Now I'm gonna flip the table.
All right.
Yeah, hold on.
All right, gentlemen. All right, gentlemen.
But that, and the movie, it does an excellent job of putting out there why I love Spider-Man and what makes Spider-Man the best, and better than Batman. I said that, better than Batman. He would kick Batman's ass, just so you know.
Okay, all right.
Batman,
all
go
right.
to therapy.
And Batman is going to take all this and just brood over it and find a way to beat it.
Yeah,
find a
no.
way to beat them.
Nope.
You
not
can't beat
possible.
Spider-Sense.
So yeah, I don't know. I love Spider-Man, and I always have, and I think he is an aspirational hero, more so even than Superman.
Yes.
Because
What is going on? More than Superman?
Yeah.
What's
Well,
I mean,
More than Kryptonite Jesus? I mean,
okay, for anyone who hasn't
I
seen
don't
No
even like
Way
him
Home,
because he's so inspirational and unrealistic.
No, I didn't say inspirational. I said aspirational.
Okay, interesting. Yes, that is a good difference. Explain to me what you mean by that.
Fictional characters, especially superheroes, are something to be aspired to. They are supposed to, in their essence and, in the writing of them and the creation of them, they are supposed to give us something to reach for, something to... This is how we should behave. This is how we should act. If we had the ability to fly and, pick up yachts and shoot lasers out of our eyes, we should use that to help people. Like that's... and his power set and the stuff that he deals with is so fantastical.
Anyone can relate.
That it's not really, you can relate to it, but at the same time you're like, I don't really care because I'm not going to run into a giant space lizard skull. But Spider-Man has a crappy apartment. Spider-Man has trouble paying his bills. Everyone hates Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, what I meant was you
thinks-
can relate to Spider-Man.
Everyone thinks he's,
A nuisance.
he's a pain in the ass and just causes problems. And yet, he still goes out every day and helps people if he can, because he has a responsibility to do that because he has these powers. And also, it's something that Stan Lee said a while ago that I really liked, was that Spider-Man wears a suit that covers his whole body, so he literally can be anybody.
Anybody.
Whereas Superman is a big, tall, handsome white guy.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man can, at least to me, reach more people. And I think that the message of Spider-Man, I mean, there's a reason it's a cliche now. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Because it's a fantastic line.
It is.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to reference it for the first two movies,
Yeah.
and boy, did that pay off.
Yeah, and the movie just reminded me why I love Spider-Man and what I love about Spider-Man and what I think other people should take more seriously when they consider superheroes and superhero movies in general.
Well, thank you, Larry.
And I did want to read a quote. This is really cheesy, but when I saw No Way Home for the second time, I thought of this, and I thought how Sam Raimi was writing gold years ago that would be more relevant now. It's Aunt May in Spider-Man 2, and she says, everybody loves a hero. People line up for them, cheer them, scream their names. And years later, they'll tell everybody how they stood in the rain for hours just to get a glimpse of the one who taught them to hold on a second longer. I'm telling you, I'll be 40 and I won't forget some of the things that happened in No Way Home because they shouldn't have happened. You couldn't have convinced a 16-year-old me when I watched Spider-Man 3 that if you think this...
Don't worry. It'll all be better in the future.
Yeah,
there was no way you were believing that.
There's no way. And so, I'm going to remember it. I'm going to remember more about I'm going to remember more about the audience and the faces, the people around me, and the kids who this was like their first Spider-Man 3. I'm going to remember all of that way more than anything else I saw this year. Not because everything else is bad, but because this one had 20 plus years of memories tied into it. And sure, you can say it's just nostalgia fuel, but Rise of Skywalker was, and it was garbage. Yeah. So there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it.
That's a good note to end on. We're already running a little long on this, but I thank you for your insights, gentlemen, and we'll try to, if people like we might do another one of these a year from now. We might not. Thank you, Keith, for coming by.
People are going to be like, as long as you don't have that weird guy from the Gilbert yelling about Spider-Man.
Who's this guy from the Gilbert? He ain't even been in a fucking show.
Yes, I was. I was in the Explorers Club. I was the Rhino head.
You know what? You were. All right, gang. We will see you next time on this little podcast where we will have repeat guest on. We're going to have Joyce Kilpatrick Jordan on, and we're also going to have her husband Bill on, and he's going to be on for the first time. So don't worry, you'll get back to your regularly scheduled Deuce Little Podcast interview with the regulars 2 weeks from this episode's drop. All right, gang. Thank you, gentlemen.
And tune in tomorrow.
And Batman is better.
Thank you.
Not true. Did that get in there?
It's still recording.
Better not.
I choose what
Better not.
God damn it. He's going to edit my voice into saying, Batman is cool.
Yeah, it's like really awkward.
It's going to be...
Batman, cool. It's like
Batman could kick Spider-Man ass.
God, what's he going to do to my
responsibility?
Dialogue? Spider-Man was cockhold, loves watching.
Let me tell you, you guys sincerely overestimate the amount of time I'm going to spend editing on this. Credits for the show. Your host and creator is Matt Gore. That's me. My producer and editor is Mita Toole.
That's me.
Music is by Cody Walker. Please go look up Cody on Cody Walker Music on YouTube, and he's also on Cody Walker Music on Facebook as well. He's local, so and he's got a couple of albums out. Easy listening, John Denver type of guitar voice. That Cody Walker. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.